Welcome to the execution gap, where the leaders who close the distance between the billion-dollar strategy and the operational reality speak on record. I am Mohammed Younus. I work with finance and technology leaders at the mega project scale, building the operational infrastructure that gives them real-time visibility on their commitments and their burn rate, their cash position, not at the end, but right now. Europe has the world's best ideas, and Saudi Arabia has unlimited capital. Both are wrestling with the same challenges, turning excellence into scalable industry. Today's guest has spent 20 years closing that gap at Porsche, one of the only companies on earth that consistently execute at the level it promises. He is the managing director of the Porsche Consulting Italy. He sits on the global leadership team. He has presented at Davos at the World Economic Forum. He has advised governments, spoken to the Italian Senate, and the regular voice in Italy's leading financial press. And then he said one sentence that stopped this entire show. Is rich in excellence. The real challenge is not the quality of ideas, but our ability to turn them into the scalable industry. That sentence applies word to word for the Saudi Arabia's $3 trillion transformation happening right now. Josef Nierling, welcome to the execution gap.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Before we open to the first question for the people who don't know Porsche Consulting's work, 20 years doing execution work across 5 industries, what does it actually mean day to day? And what separates Porsche Consulting from every other strategy firm that comes in hands over this tech and disappears?
Thank you for your question, and I'm honored to share with you some ideas and some thoughts today. On Porsche Consulting is a very unique consultancy company because it's rooted on a huge transformation of Porsche 30 years ago. We had a restructuring and a tough time, and we were able to extract some success factors, and then we expand in other business and transferred in this business to make companies more competitive. Around a special ingredient that is actually execution, the ability to execute properly important strategies.
So, Joseph, let's start with the sentence that stopped me. You said Europe is rich in excellence. The real challenge is not the quality of ideas, but our ability to turn them into scalable industry. You have seen across the automotive, pharma, energy, infrastructure, 20 years, multiple countries, hundreds of programs. What actually causing the gap, and why 2 decades of strategy consulting, including Porsche Consulting, not
So,
fixed it?
Actually, as you mentioned, Europe doesn't have an innovativeness problem. It has maybe more a scalability problem. So we are excellent at science, engineering, and creativity. So maybe we are weaker on turning these assets, these long-term assets, a globally scalable business. So if we speak about a higher level, there are 3 structural issues that maybe impact this across different industries. So first of all is the fragmentation of Europe. So markets, regulations, capital pools, and even industrial standards are still national. So scaling in Europe often means solving the same problem 27 times for each nation. So we have to speed up the creation of one single market for products and services with unique regulations, and also one single market for capital. AI challenges today, for example, or more specifically, the autonomous driving challenge that is facing the automotive industry that is so strong in Europe. So another topic is maybe the risk of asymmetry in this sense. So upsides from success are often capped by rules, antitrust topics, taxation models, cultural that brings this downside highly negatively perceived compared to what are the upsides. So this discourages a little bit bold industrial bets. And third, we can say about governance over velocity. It's also an historical topic. European organizations are optimized for consensus, for control, but maybe not for speed and learning that is so crucial today. So this works well in with very stable environments and stable industries, but not in exponential changing time like today or in exponential changing technologies that we are pushing today. Concerning your question about consultancy, actually, this is what we are doing in the last 3 decades of consultancy. So we work with companies to change how they operate, their operating model, their capital allocation. So with an execution depth that transforms ideas into a concrete, impactful path. And this is in Europe as well, and in the US, in China. So we are globally present, and we have always this kind of approach.
Great. So let's talk about Porsche, the brand. It is the ultimate example of a company that executes at the level it promises. Every product, every customer experience, every delivery, it works from in the inside. What does Porsche do differently from the rest of the automotive industry? And why cannot everyone simply
Thank you
copy
for your
it?
question. So, if I may say, the success of Porsche comes from its extraordinary coherence. So, three things are, I think, crucial in Porsche, and that works for automotive, but also outside automotive. So, first is the clarity of ambition. So, Porsche knows what it wants to be, but also what it doesn't want to be. So, it a clear brand proposition, a clear strategy. And this clarity guides every decision from products to technology to capital allocation. The second thing, it's about end-to-end ownership. And I think also when we discuss about execution is really important because accountability is not diffused. So leaders own results across silos. So the typical structure of engineering, manufacturing, finance, brand is by us transformed with a strong culture of end-to-end accountability. So, and this is actually rooted in this restructuring process that we had in the early 90s, where I mentioned before was Porsche Consulting conceived. So, for example, we have a unique organization in the automotive sector that's a matrix organization with strong products leaders that take care of the products from the conception phase to the market ramp up and above it. And third, include the discipline and the success. Most companies maybe lose focus when margins are high, when are in the peak of their success. Porsche reinvests systematically in coherent capabilities with a long-term perspective. So this is very important. This long-term view of the company that is above quarter results, year-end results. It's really a strategy that is long-term conceived. So can other companies copy it? Yes, of course. There are several success of this the adaptation to other industries. It's even my daily job, I have to say. Proposals I mentioned, unique brand proposition, efficient operating model. Every company can adopt these Porsche principles. Maybe long-term coherence. This is not so easy to be copied because it is built over decades through culture, leadership, and also hard trade-offs that I mentioned before.
Right. So you have absorbed hundreds of transformation programs. You know the statistics, roughly 70% fail. Two questions that belong together. First, what is the one question every leader should ask before launching a major program that the question, if answered honestly, would prevent most failures? And the second, for the program that do work, what are the key elements that activate a successful transformation? Not the strategy document, the actual
So,
activation.
very interesting question. So, after watching different transformation that fails or have success, so the question that every leader should ask before launching one transformation is, am I personally ready to lead this change every day, or I'm delegating it? So this is the key question, because I made, as Porsche Consulting, several studies on transformation, what works and what doesn't work, that the transformation fail not because of strategy, but they fail because of people that don't move. So 70% of transformation collapse not because the direction was wrong, but because the organization never activate the workforce, the middle management, the employees. So this has not to be underestimated. What makes successfully transformation? First, making this, as I mentioned before, a personal priority. So on successful transformation, 80% of the CEOs are visibly involved, not just be the sponsor or the mentor, but they lead. And the second is not to rely on catchy communication slogans when we speak about communication, but over communicate with clarity across many
Exactly.
channels, repeatedly in plain language that is understandable from everybody. So people need to hear the same message many times before they change behavior. And third, so it's very important to change the system where people operate. CEOs that have success, they adjust incentive systems, decision rights, the rules, or even they replace rules and processes with just principle to give this appropriate freedom. We have to work hardly on new ways of working before changing things, because you have to create the proper environment. And finally, of course, there is
Exactly.
a topic of skills. So if in a change transformation is a skill transformation needed, that is really
Hmm.
crucial. It has to be clearly targeted, not general programs, but very, very focused on that. So if I can summarize in one sentence, so transformation succeed when leaders stop treating like a change program, but they start treating it as a complex human system that needs to be led every day personally.
Exactly. So let's shift to the next decade. How do you see the artificial intelligence reshaping the industrial sector, and what capabilities or the organizational shifts will distinguish the companies that capture AI's full potential from those that
Yeah.
fall behind?
So AI, so it's the main question today, and actually it will reshape all industries, and maybe probably not in the way most companies are using it today. So right now, most conversation about AI is about productivity or risk of employment. It's about automation, efficiency, cost reduction, doing at the end the same work with fewer people. So that's useful, but is not long term the real advantage that will come from AI. So over time, the company that will have success are not the ones that use it mainly to cut costs, but the companies that are able to augment their value proposition into the market. So strategically speaking, AI that protects the bottom line is defensive, but AI that grows the top line is offensive. So it will work really. So real winners on this AI application will be the companies that embed AI in what they sell, not just how they operate, so make more efficient, but really better products, faster development cycles, adaptive system, personalization enabled by AI. So things that customer actually pay for. And this is at the end where AI will transform really the world. So when AI will be physical AI in the products. So think about vehicles, cars, and autonomous driving, but also machines, industrial machines. When we create autonomous system, when we embed this AI in the physical world, that will be a huge transformation, also a huge business that can come up from this. Of course, to do that, we need that
Right.
really different approach. This they're not pilots on AI. It's not owned by IT department. It really has to sit in the core of strategy, product management, product strategy, engineering, and commercial. So for being this a priority of the top line. So to conclude, so what will divide winners, the adoption of AI will be the companies that are embedding this physical AI to be more relevant to the customers.
So, from what you have seen, what percentage of the industrial companies in Europe or in the Gulf have the operational infrastructure actually ready to deploy AI at scale, not pilots? I'm talking about
So
scale.
we are today not yet seeing companies that are able to use AI at a large scale, but there are companies that have understood that they don't have to use just to solve internal problems, operative problems, but they can embed this in their product. So there are in Europe, but also worldwide, companies that have a clear vision on using AI in their products to be completely different in the future. Because think about autonomous driving. Back to this example that is very concrete as near Porsche example. Through AI and autonomous driving, you can change the market. Also, in another role, you can be a mobility provider or you can be a provider of products. That change a lot because in one case you are front end with the customer, in the other case you are a supplier, and this is a more risky position. So companies are understanding the power of this transformation. I at the moment is not even mature enough to be applied at scale. Today, what is at scale is the infrastructure building. So the AI infrastructure, the data centers, and so on, they are growing fast. This is going to be at scale. The penetration in companies is not yet at scale, even at the operative level, at the cost reduction level. It's not yet. And even not yet in the other sense around to be completely different in proposing the products into the market. So we are living a very sparkling moment, and this is the time to decide the strategy and then execute it rapidly as soon as there is a mature.
Exactly 100% right on this, Joseph. So now we jump to the final question, and this is one my audience has been waiting for since the moment I told them that you are coming on. Saudi Arabia is spending $500 billion on NEOM alone, and the Gulf is deploying the $3 trillion into transformation, infrastructure, cities, industries at a scale never attempted in the human history. So they are importing Europe consulting firms, executives, European best practices. But Europe itself, as you just described, still wrestling with the turning excellence into the scalable industry. So what does a Davos level strategies see when he looks at Vision 2030, and what concerns you
So when
most?
looking at the Vision 2030, the greatness of the project is not the scale of investment, but the systemic nature of this ambition. So this is not just a portfolio of large projects, but is a deliberate attempt to redesign economic system, the industrial system, the social model for the long term. That's great. In this sense, I think Vision 2030 is comparable to only a handful of historical precedents. One of them that we can use as example, not because of its context, but or its size, but on the logic, be Shenzhen or more broadly some large urban, large scale developments in China. What I use this as example because what makes Shenzhen successful was not architecture, capital, master planning. It's the speed at which the economic life and daily life were activated. So Shenzhen worked well because people were attracted early, not after completion of the huge project, huge transformation. So jobs, manufacturing, logistics, entrepreneurship came first. So and institutions were allowed to adapt pragmatically. The pragmatism is very, very, very important here to the reality that unfolds in the time. And the success, the real success, the immediate success created the proper momentum and also the credibility and then the reinvestment capacity. In short, shall we say, better 80% today than 100% never. That's I think, one important approach on execution. The decisive challenge for
Right.
Vision 20 today, in my eyes, is not longer the vision funding that are really solid. It's the realization through
Right.
people. So for that, you can mention three priorities for the next future. First, activate, as I mentioned, the population, the daily life. So people must be able to move in the new environments, walk, commute, access services, build routines. So the lived experience created this legitimacy of the investment, and is more powerful than communication. The second thing is accelerating specifically the projects that create immediate economic impact. Maybe they are not the most attractive, but logistics hubs, economic centers, industrial and trade platforms. These are the tipping points. They can generate employment, cash flow, connectivity of people. This is exactly, for example, in Shenzhen, this is a manufacturing and logistics pole that attracted then at the early phase people. And the third, really intentionally building an attractive ecosystem for a new, we can say, trendy lifestyle. Because the ambition of the project it's great. We have to think about a new lifestyle in this futuristic part of the world. So to conclude beyond the economic part, so the Vision 2030 for me has an opportunity to define really a new global benchmark for people where to live, work, interact, and where you can combine technologies. Sustainability is a very important topic that I know is central in the project. Mobility, the quality of life. If done well, this becomes really a magnet, a powerful magnet for global talents, for entrepreneurs, and long-term residents. This is, for me, important thing to stretch.
Right. Correct. So, what is the single thing you would tell a Saudi programs director right now, someone managing a $10 billion project, to fix first in their operational execution? Added to your question,
So
answer.
for sure, working on the execution, but really embed the customer perspective. So build this vision together with the people that will be at the end customer, the stakeholders, the customer in sense of course, the people that will live there, but the companies that will work there. So work strictly together with the main actor that will transform this vision and the realization through people, as I say.
So, Joseph, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Let me try to capture it. One, you said about the Europe's execution gap is not about the quality of ideas, it is about the operational infrastructure required to turn excellence into the scalable industry. And that gap is the same one opening right now at the sovereign scale across the Gulf. And the second thing, the Porsche executes at the level it promises because of the specific disciplines around leadership, process rigor, and critical practice, staying until the gap between what has designed and what was built is actually closed. And the third thing, you said about the 70% of the transformation program fail because leaders skip the one question that determines everything before they start, and the gap between the strategy approved and it actually works is where the most consultant have already left the building. The another one, AI will reshape the industrial sector, but only for the organization that build the operational
I
prerequisite
think
first.
it's absolutely a very good synthesis of our discussion. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So, Josef Nierling, Managing Director, Porsche Consulting Italy, Global Leadership Team, Davos, thank you for coming to the Execution Gap. And for everyone listening, if this conversation made you think about your own execution gap, whether you are building in Europe, the Gulf, or anywhere at the scale, reach out. I am Mohammed Younus. We work with the operational leaders on the systems and the infrastructure that supports execution at the mega project scale, finance, IT, data architecture, and wherever the distance between the strategy and the reality is the widest. Next episode coming soon. Thanks for listening to the
Thank you
Execution
very
Gap.
much.